Yeah, hello, and welcome back to the grind. It's back to the Porsche 924. Now, this time here, I had all sorts of things planned. I was going to get these motor mounts in there, and I've got this gear shift thing for the back of the car and by the transmission. But then I figured I'd go and see if I can get the fuel pressure sorted out, because I got a new kit from some guys down in Australia, which these guys right here. And then it came with a new spring. Now the new spring here's the new spring. It wasn't as tough as the old spring, so I used the old spring. Anyhow, it's about quite a long video, and I apologize for that, but there were lots of ins and outs on it. Underneath here, there's a little plate in there, and I had it apart and I cleaned it out, and then I felt that was not sealing properly, and so I did some work to fix that, and I think I've got it mostly cured. Like, the cold pressure comes up to 1.4 or 1.6, and the hot pressure comes up to 3.2. Now the hot pressure should be at 3.4, but I can't get it to go above 3.2 without putting shims into that thing there. And that, when you put a shim in, it screws up the cold start. And the cold start is good now. So I'll just leave it at that for now. And if you take the time to watch the video, there's some interesting, it is interesting, that thing. So hope you enjoy it. And that's about all it was everything about that thing there. Warm-up regulators on K Jetronics fuel systems. 1979 Porsche 924. Anyhow, hope you enjoy it. See you later. Yeah, I forgot to take my camera over here. Now here's the Envoy out front. A little bit of dust on it, but that's all right. And this Porsche just started right up like a brand new car, but you hear it running really rough, eh? And that's what I'm going to try and solve again, because I've got the spring for the warm-up regulator. You can see that thing's burning very rich, so it hasn't got itself sorted out for temperature-wise. It thinks it's like 40 below or something. Anyway, I'll let it warm up. Once it warms up, it smooths out okay. So I'll let it warm up, and then I'll move it into the other shop, and we'll see what we can do from there. Anyway, that's all right. And then anybody that's been wondering, there's a Triumph back here, and the hovercraft is right there, and the Triumph is right there. So I'm going to get to the Triumph, pull it out of here sometime in the not too distant future, but not right away. I want to get this thing here inspected and running right first, and then I think this one here will come next. I'm not sure. And then we'll get to the Triumph. And then, oh dear, I have the little Mini there. We'll have to do a run it. Will it start one of these days on the Mini, just to see what's going to happen with that. No, I don't know. Like, oh yeah, well, welcome back, eh? We're back to the Porsche for a day or two. And you see my nose is getting better. I've got the Volkswagen parked back over here, and it just, like, it runs nice now. It just starts and goes, doesn't matter the temperature. There, now you see this thing here is smoothing out now, so it's getting to be warmed up. I'll be able to open up the doors and the big grads and the little grads there and bring it in soon. Then one day this thing here is going to be fun to do some work on. It needs to have the carburetor set up, but mostly I think it's pretty good. But the carbs are out of sync, and I know I have knowledge how to do that, and that'll be all right. I look forward to that one. Okay, that's all for an intro. So we'll see if we can get this to run better. Then I've got motor mounts for it, and I've got, what else have I got? And I've got the gear shift linkage thing that it needs to maybe make it a bit better. But I think the motor mounts will help the gear shifts also, because that'll get the motor into the right spot. I think it's been hanging down low. Anyway, be here soon. Yeah, there we are. That's sounding a lot better now. Like it's nice and smooth when it warms up. Hang on a second, I'll just the cover for the cam belt hasn't arrived as yet. It's on the way. I've been in contact with the seller, and it's on the way. So this thing here, that's the warm-up regulator, and that's what we'll dive into today for a bit. It's let me see now. How can I say this? It originally lived on the back of the motor, back behind, underneath all that. But I was having a bunch of troubles with it, so I just built a little bracket here and extended the power wire to come out to here. And that seems to be working all right now. And the car runs really nicely when it's warmed up. But just that warm-up cycle and cold, like even hot start or cold start. Once it's running, it's great, but a hot start or cold start, something's going on here. What's going on there? Have to look into that. Is that steam or smoke? I don't know. Checking into that. Okay. I think it was a little bit of steam coming off it. I don't know why. Maybe this hose here is taking a hankering to leak a bit, but it was definitely circulating water, so that's okay. Didn't hear the fan come on, didn't check the temperature gauge. Okay, well, could have done that, because I think the fan should have been on. Well, we'll just check it out. First off, fuel pressure regulator. Yeah, there, I haven't seen that desktop for a long time. So now I'll just pull off the warm-up regulator, and I've got the most of it is, well, here I'll show you. Hang on a second, I'll show you what I've got. Not looking around the right spot. This part here, this is for the gear shift thing at the back of the car, and I hope it's the right one. You never know, but we'll see. And then in here, this is the warm-up regulator rebuild kit from Australia, from K-Jet Specialist warm-up regulator fuel rebuild kit, type number blah blah blah. There's the www.k-jet.biz. Anyhow, but the spring comes in this one. This is the only one I've ever found with a spring in it. The other parts in there are pretty new. I just want to put the spring in and see if I can get it to adjust properly. That bag is empty. Then, over here I've got, these are motor mounts for the Porsche. And I've noticed that, maybe you've noticed, like, it's very difficult. I watch other people online, and you can see their spark plugs down in here. And mine, you can't get anything down in there. So I think the motor mount is all, just needs to come up a bit, and that'd likely make everything much nicer to work on, right? Anyway, I'll give it a try. I got motor mounts for both sides, and that lift it up a bit, and that might get rid of some of the rattling down there too. Okay. Yeah, I think I pressed the wrong buttons. Anyhow, there's the motor mounts come from here. That's vibra-technics.co.uk. Maybe, can you read that? I hope so. And they come fast, like they sent them over by Loomis. and it came as fast as anything comes from, well, faster than what they come from the States. I was surprised. This one here comes from Partworks in Germany, and they actually it takes a while for it to get here, but it got here. Anyway, there we go. Now, anybody that's been around watching me for a while, they get bored with this because they've seen me take this in and out 100 times already. So I've drilled a hole in there, and that makes it so I can adjust that thing up and down a bit. But that'll make it makes it so I can adjust the pressure flow and cold and hot. So mostly I adjust it to the hot and then wait and see what the cold does, right? These two bolts are bolt there and bolt there, hold it onto my little stand here. This comes off, this comes off. That's the inflow and that's the outflow. I think one of them is, one of them's anyhow. I think that one's in and that one's out. And that goes back to here and puts pressure into this thing here on the top, and then this is where, if you're gonna hook up the pressure gauge, you put it up in between these, take that off and put it in between here, and it's got to have a switch on it so you can turn it off and on to check the operating pressure and check the regulated pressure in hot and cold. Anyway, I'll show you that as I get along, but it might as well. And I've seen lots of questions on the Porsche 924 thing on Facebook that about this, and cars won't start, and it's all about this thing here not being right. Anyhow, we'll get to it. I'll just, first off, I'll take this off, take off that, take this, the energy supply or electricity, and take those two bolts out of there, and that'll pop off there. I'll take it apart and I'll show you what I'm going to do to it. Yeah, so this return line here, this is a little one, it was kept pouring out fuel, pouring out fuel, pouring out fuel, never stopping. And so what I did was just go back here and opened the gas cap, let the pressure out, because it was pressured up in there. That's part of the system, so it's got residual fuel pressure, I guess. Anyway, I'll keep on taking that apart. Yeah, here's cold warm up regulator, it's called, but it's really fuel pressure regulator, not just warm up, forever and ever it goes. Now there's a couple of little screens in here that can get plugged up, and I've removed the screens on this one, and somewhere the people in Germany told me the screens weren't really necessary. I asked for them and they said they weren't really necessary, like what it does is stop any metal filings from going in there from when you turn these things in, but as long as you keep your stuff clean, it should be all right. Famous last words, right? But they were plugged up, so there must be something going on there, right? So this bottom here comes off, really very simple. There's just a nut and a bolt, like that, and then 2, 3, 4. Pretty exciting, eh? And the kit comes with new nuts and bolts and everything, but these are all pretty new. So not the first time I've been into this one. Then in here, it's got this little thing here, which is the plunger that, I'll call that the top hat. It fits into the top hat and it reaches down and into into the metal at the bottom. I'm not going to take that apart today. I'll put a link to a video where I did take it apart in the description down here if you really want to. And I took that all apart in there and cleaned it out, and I took this all off. I'm not going to take this off. This is a bimetal strip that it takes the heat, and as this gets warmer, let me see if I can figure this out. As it gets warmer, it bends. Yeah, so when it's cold, it's bent up, and that lets more fuel flow through here. As it gets warmer, this spring presses on, like there's a spring and what I call a top hat. So this spring presses on that top hat and puts pressure onto the little pin thing here and makes it so that less fuel gets through, less pressure gets through. Is that right? Less or more? Yeah, less fuel gets through. Higher pressure, less fuel. Maybe I got that backwards. One way or the other anyhow. If you let it go out, then it gets higher pressure, in gets lower pressure. Anyway, whatever way it goes, when it's warm, when it's cold, it needs to run rich, and when it's warm, it needs to lean it off. So as it warms up, this thing here releases tension on this, releases tension, and the spring presses more into that, so it makes it so less fuel goes through here, less pressure goes back. Like that line there goes to, eventually gets right here, and inside right here it pushes down, it creates pressure on the plunger that's trying to come up, and that will be like, so underneath this part here is what I call it a banjo, but it's the airflow monitor, airflow measurer, and that opens up, lets the plunger, pulls the plunger up, and when it comes up, the plunger comes up, allows more fuel to go into these things here. This holds the plunger down so that it's not just, it regulates the level of the plunger at hot and cold. So when it's cold, it has less pressure on here and allows this to rise higher, therefore giving it a richer mixture to all this, to the injectors over there. And if it's not right, it just wreaks havoc. And then the other thing down here is this pressure regulator here, which is you can put some shims in there, take shims out or put shims in till you get the proper regulated fuel pressure. Now I'll show you that when I finish all this, I'll be hooking up the fuel pressure measuring device and see if we can get it to figure it out, right? So back to here now. I had a 1 millimeter spacer in here, which helped it to run. That's just it so happens that was 1 millimeter and the right size to fit in there. And I put that in underneath the spring, but the spring should be sitting right on the base there. And then the new spring, which is in baggie number 5 here. I'll get baggie number 3 out of the way. So I'm not going to use anything out of this kit except for the new spring for now, because everything in there is new and clean, and I don't want to go in there messing with it again. But here's the new spring. And here's the old spring. And the new spring is just slightly higher. I'm going to just put this measuring device on here. This is the old spring. I'll make it right to there. Oops. So it's 22.3 millimeters on there. this one here is 22.4 millimeters. So 0.1 of a millimeter of more springiness into it. So we hope that that's gonna make it so I can adjust the fuel pressure to be running correctly. 22.4. 22.1, 22.05. So that's like pretty near, well, not a half millimeter, but I had this 1 millimeter thing in there, and that made it so it would run. If I had maybe had a half millimeter thing in there, it might have helped it out, but that made it so it ran well at hot, warm temperatures, but wouldn't run very well at cold temperatures because it was allowed it to be too rich. Anyway, so now I'm going to just put this back together. Well, I'll just do that, right? So your little plunger goes in here, and there's a little tiny hole in there that it fits into. Then the top hat goes on, and then the spring goes in where the top hat is, and just check and make sure that that's moving like the plunger's in the hole. And then this goes on carefully. Oops. It's all very, very, very movie, like moves a lot. There. That goes on there, and just hold a little bit of pressure on it while you get a couple of bolts into it. And that's all it needs to be. Don't tighten them all until you get them all in. Gotta get a different screwdriver. Here we go. This one works better for just getting them snugged. Wow, famous last words there too. Anyway, there's the last one. So that's back together with the new spring in it. Now, like I said, I'll put a link with taking this thing all apart. There's 2 or 3 videos that I did of taking this thing apart and putting it back together. So now I'll get ready on the other side there and get the new piece put in, put it back where it goes. Yeah, so another modification I've done on this warm-up regulator is I've drilled a hole in the center of this plunger. This plunger holds the end of the bimetallic strip at the proper level, and then I've got this nut here, right, or bolt. It's a 5 millimeter bolt, and I threaded the hole in there so that now if I want to change the fuel pressure to a I think if you pull this up and the pressure gets higher, and you push it in and the pressure gets lower. So if you want to pull it up, you just turn this nut here down, and if you want it to go the other way, you just got to give it a tap with a hammer and it goes back down. So usually you start at a low level and come up, well, but you start with whatever you've got, right? Anyway, that's makes it makes the thing adjustable. And the Porsche guys say that if you do this modification, then it and move it around too much, it's going to make that sleeve in there loose, and it won't remain, like it won't stay in the same place. So I guess the answer for that is to put another one on the other side to hold it, or else, you know, just So far I haven't had, well, so far it seems to be okay, but so far it hasn't been very long. Anyway, I hope I haven't ruined this warm-up regulator by doing that modification, but some other guys seem to have had good luck with it, so there you go. Yeah, so all I did was, there's this thing here that holds all the vacuum lines, or some of the vacuum lines, I won't say all. Anyhow, and all I did was made this little plate out of aluminum, and there's 2 screws here. There's a bunch of screw holes because they had a couple wrong. Anyhow, 2 screw holes here and here, and this thing here will just sit on there, and it holds it fairly nicely, so I'll get that back on. There, that's, which one is this? This one here goes, yeah, this one comes from, this is the inside inlet, this is the outlet, and it goes back to, what the hell? No, this, yeah, oh, this one. Yeah, this one goes back to here, and then it gets through that, and then somehow onto down here and back up here, and then back up to there to get pressure to the system. I'm not really sure, but, or maybe it's, anyway, that one's the outlet. It goes to the, this goes back to the tank. And I don't know if there's a valve up in a line that goes back up through there to get, there's a little pinhole in here that needs the pressure on it. Anyway, I'll take it apart here, and I'll put the fuel thing in there, whatever you call that. The pressure valve, the thing that shows the pressure. I'm not going to put any electricity on here yet, and wait a minute, I'll get my little chart out. Yeah, so here's information for it, and this is for that number up there. Number 011 is on, like the Bosch number 438140011 is on the warm-up regulator. So if you have a different regulator number, you might have to get a different sheet that shows it. But this one here, this is for cold pressure. You want 3.4 control pressure warm, 3.4 to 3.8. System pressure, 4.5 to 5.2 or 4.7 to 4.9. Leak test, that's after 10 minutes, and after, we'll do a leak test later. I'm pretty sure it won't pass. But this is cold pressure up here. So once it's warmed up, you want it to be running at 3.4 to 3.8 bar. And when it's cold, if it's like 10 degrees, then you want the pressure to be at 0.8 of a bar, between 0.8 and 1.246, between 0.4 and 1.3, right? Around here it's about 20 degrees here Celsius. So we'd want the cold pressure to be between 1.3 and 1.7, in around there. Now, the last time I had it running, it was very low. It was like 0.5 cold pressure because that spring was too strong on it. So hopefully with this spring a little bit less strong, it'll get up to the right pressure here. And then the more important is when it's warmed up to have it 3.4 to 3.8 bar and not to worry so much about the cold pressure. Anyway, there we go. I'll give it a go, and I'll get things set up and see what we can do. Now I got this fuel pressure testing kit from Amazon. Mostly it's pretty cheap stuff, and it doesn't like I've already had to repair this connector here, which leaked right away. But this thing here seems to be right, seems to be okay, and it looks a little bit like something out of the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, hey? Anyhow, but here's how it hooks. So off of this center bit here, come on, off of the fuel distributor, the pipe comes out on the pressure side, on the pressure gauge side. Then you have to have a switch like this. This switch here just turns on and off. So if you turn it off, then you're measuring system pressure. If you turn it on, you're measuring regulated pressure. So when it's system pressure should be up around here, 5.6 or something like that. I'll look at the thing over here. Wait a minute. Got to remember all these numbers. System pressure. I don't know where it says system pressure on here. System pressure, 4.5 to 5.2 bar. And then the down here, fuel injector openings 2.5 to 3.8 bar. Now I don't know how to measure that, how to test that, but there must be a way, right? Anyway, then so the first thing we want to do is get this cold pressure, which I have a temperature thing here somewhere, right here. I'll just see what the 20.9 degrees that thing is. 21 degrees, 25 degrees there. Yeah, 21 degrees is what the ambient temperature on the regulator is now. So it should be at 21 degrees. So it should be between 1.4 and 1.8 bar when it starts. Now hopefully the car will start. We'll just see what'll happen here, and then we'll see where this thing goes to, see where the pressure goes to on this. Now this thing here, you're supposed to, after it's running, you gotta turn it upside down and backwards to let the air out of it, but there's this little air release valve here too. Anyhow, we'll get it running. Now if the car doesn't run right away because the fuel pressure is all wrong, then you can jump the fuel pump back there, or else there's instructions in the manual for bypassing the relay. But I find it easier just to go and run a couple of little cables back to the fuel pump. Anyway, I'll see what goes now. So now, if you want to have, it should be at starting, it should be about there for pressure on it. So if it's too high, if it's too low, you take this nut here and turn it in so it lifts that, and that creates a higher pressure. If it's too high, then you give it a little tap with a hammer and that makes it go down. So we'll just see if I can get it to start and see what answer it has right away. Yeah, so the cold pressure is right there, and I've got to get it up to about there. I'll see what I can do. No, I don't want you to fall into the motor here. But I don't have any heat going on it yet. So you hold the top, hold that, and turn this down. I'll start turning. Haven't made any movement yet. Yeah, I'm not going to pull it up any higher. I'm going to put the electricity to it and see what happens when it warms up. So it's running, and it should, like it's running, but you see how, because it's low like that, it's very, very, it'll take it a minute now before it starts coming up, or 5 minutes. I'll wait and see, let it run for a bit. 3:37 now. Now this is like watching paint dry for that thing to start moving. And of course it's leaking here. I better do something about that. That might make a difference in it. Yeah, there, the fuel pressure is finally starting to rise a bit here. We'll just see if it'll get itself sorted out here soon. And I gotta open the door of the shop some more because the fumes in here are killing me. Yeah, so the fuel pressure is starting to rise now. So that regulator there is warming up with the electricity on it, we hope. And I wanted to get it up to 3.8 up around here somewhere, I think. Now we do have system pressure, like if you turn this switch and you get the system pressure is about right around 5, 4.8 to 5.2 or something like that. I'll just check on my little list over there. Seems that I've stopped leaking down below here. And then the fuel pressure, if you turn this the other way, then the fuel pressure goes. So I want that fuel pressure to come up when it's running. Let's see what we got here. System pressure 4.5 to 5.2. So system pressure is okay. And right now, if I look at this, 23.6. So 25 degrees on the outside of that thing. So 25 degrees is here. It should be between 1.6 and 1.9. And it's right, yeah, 1.2468. So pretty close to where it's supposed to be at that temperature of that thing. So we'll wait and see what happens. Yeah, it's slowly raising in pressure now. It's got 2.2 bar, and that's around 30 degrees there Celsius, and that meets the chart. So we're getting, might be okay, might be close. Yeah, I don't think that new spring has solved my problem because it's still, most I can get out of it is 2.3 bar, and I've got that thing pulled all the way up. Now I'm going to just double check and make sure I got electricity going to that, but I'm pretty sure there is. Yeah, that's the most I can get out of it is 2.3, and it should be at 3 point up around here. So the other way, like I'll put my shim back in there, and maybe I'll see if I can get a smaller shim. And I'll get back to you on it in a few minutes. Yeah, so I grinded off my shim, sanded it off down to 1 millimeter. It used to be 2 millimeters. And I'm going to put that in and see if that'll make any difference. Yeah, there, I just put my shim, it's 1 millimeter shim in there now. And I haven't taken the fuel lines off it this time. I'm just doing it over this box so in case I drop anything, I won't lose it. So I'll just put it back together the way I did before and see if that makes any difference. Yeah, there now, what I did, I put the shim in with the new spring, and then I gave this thing a couple of taps just to, I put it down about 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters downwards, so there's a little bit of gap there to play with. And now I'll let it warm up until it's up to temperature again, and see what we get to on here. But just that made it so that it's up into the readings that you want to see anyhow. Now, whether or not, I guess if I get it to run warm well, I'll be all right. There is an electronic solution to this. There's a company that makes an electronic thing that cuts out that warm-up regulator, and it costs less than another one of these, I think. Anyway, I'll let it warm up and see. I just sort of like the challenge of getting that to run right with that on there is what I'd like to have happen, but we'll see. Yeah, so it's been pretty steady at like 2.9 there for a while, so I'll see if I can turn it up a little bit over here with my adjustment, and if it doesn't, then I'll have to put another shim in there. Yeah, the most I can get is 3 bar out of that thing there without the shim. So, well, with the 1mm shim in there, so I'll put a 2mm shim back into it, see what it goes to. And this doesn't seem to make any difference at all where it sits. So I think that that thing there might be gibbled. We'll see. Yeah, there now. It's at 3.4 now. 246, 3.6. But it hasn't heated up in there yet, so that's with the old spring and the shim. I'll just let it warm up until, and I'll try to get this down to 3.4 when it's hot. Yeah, there it's just creeping up on 3.4 now, and I'll see what happens. I measured this distance in here now. I don't know if you can see that. The depth to the top of that thing. This is a holder for the heat element. So the depth is about 3.3 millimeters. And this is coming at 3.4 bar. So if that'll hold there, I'll leave it running for a while. If that'll hold there, I'm just going to be happy with it. Yeah, it's been 15 minutes or 20 minutes. It's up around like 4.7, 3.7 now. Then if you close this valve, that'll get the system pressure is around 5, which is good. I don't know why it wobbles a bit there, but it does. Then it'll drop back when I turn that back. It comes back to the 3.75, 3.8, pretty near. So 3.8 is in the specification, 3.8. So I'm gonna leave it for another 10 minutes and running and just see what it looks like. And I gave that a little tap and I knocked it back to 3.6. And we're just above 3.6. And I'll leave it running here for a little bit more and see if it holds there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that now. It's hanging around 3.6. Now I'm going to leave it overnight to see what it comes out from tomorrow morning. And I can also, I'll go back and see if, like you got a clean piece of paper towel, right? And we'll just see if it's mucking up. Just put it over the exhaust pipe like that. And we still have a clean piece of paper towel, so it must be fairly clean burning. You know, I don't have a California standard test, but that's a good enough test for me. Yeah, now it's supposed to hold residual pressure here for a while. Like after 10 minutes, what's it say on this sheet here? Pressure, I don't know what size of accumulator. I think I've got a 20 cc accumulator. And after 10 minutes, it should be above 1.3 bars or more. And after 20 minutes, it should be 1.1 bars or more. So it's about another 6-7 minutes. And we'll see if it passes the test in 7 minutes here. Yeah, there after 4 minutes, it's down to there, 1.24, 0.5 of a bar. So that's a pretty resounding failure. And oh well, I don't know what to do about that. Anyway, that's enough for the day. I'll come back tomorrow and see about the next challenge, which would be those things there, the motor mounts. Yeah, here I am again. Then back with the 924 and the fuel pressure regulator or warm-up regulator, WUR. I've still got this thing hooked up. The motor's dead cold now. It has been sitting all night, so I'm going to see what that does when I start it. And perhaps you could watch it for me. Wait a minute till I get things set up here. Yeah, there now. See what happens when I start it. started. Yeah, it should be around here. To warm it up. That is very, very low. But it will warm up now. Just give it 5 minutes and it'll warm up and I'll show you what's going on. Yeah, here it's like 2 minutes in now. And it's just getting up to where it should have started at. But it thinks it's 20 degrees when likely it's a bunch warmer now. But hopefully it'll get up to the 3.6 again after about 5 minutes or so when the motor warms right up. Wait and see. Yeah, there's about 4 minutes now since I started it. And you can watch the gauge a little bit moving now as it warms up. So as it warms up, that little bimetal strip in here lifts up and squeezes that more closed, creating more back pressure on this line here, which goes right to here and pushes down on that plunger. Now I finally figured out how that works. And there it's starting to smooth out pretty nice now, so it'll come around okay and hopefully get up to the right operating temperature business. So I think what it's telling me here is that there's a little well, let me see, there's a metal plate that comes up against this and that plunger that pushes against it to close the valve off, and I think that is likely got some burrs on it, so it has to take extra pressure to close it. So I don't know how I could reface that part in there. Perhaps I could. I could take it apart and see if I could reface that, make it worse or make it better, one of the two. But we'll just, I'll think about it a while. For today, I think I'll go ahead and, like it starts and runs. There's also an electronic gizmo that you can get to replace that with, which is around the same price as a new one of these things. And maybe that's the right route to go. Make it reliable. There, it's up to 2 now on the bars, and it needs to get up to that high there. So it's been running now for 153, so 7 minutes. We'll see how long it takes to get back up to nice operating temperature here. Anyway, let it go for a while more. Yeah, so now it's about 12 minutes in and up to 2.8, 2.7, 2.8 on the bars, and still have to get up to 3.6, I think. Wait and see how long it takes to get there. Like, you could drive it now without any trouble. It would be happy driving. It would be running a bit rich, but it would drive okay. Yeah, I'm up about 20 minutes now, and it's 3.2. It'll likely get up to 3.4 soon. Now, it would warm up an awful lot quicker if I'll show you here on, I don't know, can you see that? So there's, temperature on there is 38 degrees. That's on the warm-up regulator. The temperature on the water jacket is like 55 degrees. Well, 72 degrees on the water jacket. 60 degrees on the outflow from the water pump. So that would be, it's up when it's mounted on the back of the motor, which is back here. it's right up on the water jacket of the motor, and that would help it warm up more quickly. Right now it's waiting on ambient temperature to come up, but it does eventually get there. It's like it's 3.2 now, and it'll make it to 3.4 pretty quickly when the motor warms up enough. So yes, it does work, and but I'm going to take it apart again, see if I can smooth out. I'll take it apart and see if I can smooth out that receiver here. I'll show you when I get it apart. So yes, I won't bother putting a link in because I'll have it all apart. Yeah, so here it is off once again. Now I'll just pull this out of here. This is my little adjuster bolt that I have in here. And that's pushed down quite a ways there because that's got the heavy duty spring in there. So I'm going to take it apart and see if there's any dirt in here. I'll take it apart and I'll show you the insides where the little plunger goes and all that kind of stuff. But I won't film it until I get down to that part. Yeah, so here I am down to this part here. Now this is the bimetal strip in there, and this is the heater. Now the way to check on that to see if that's good or not, if the heater's heating, then it's just on like check the ohms. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Likely not. Anyhow, you'll have to take my word what it says here. So just one to each side, and it comes up at 21, 22 ohms. So that means that it's got resistance in there. So that is as close as you can come to saying that the heater works. Now I do believe it does work all right because it was doing stuff. Now let me just get the proper wrench, which is right here. So this is a 10 millimeter thing right there. And where's my socket driver? And this just holds the bimetal strip onto that post that I can adjust. Like that's goes right on that. So it'll come out of there if you're lucky. Carefully. Let me get some pliers here. Yeah, sorry about that. So here's just a pair of pliers. I'll grab it and lift it out of there maybe. Maybe. There we go. And that you can just flip over to the side here. It doesn't affect anything that you're doing here. A couple of pieces of green came off of there. Don't know why. Now you can take that out. There's this little clippy thing here, and you just push back that little clippy thing here, and then that'll come right out of there. But I don't want to do that today. So here's in there's 4 screws in there. You see them? So they just come out. If you have the right screwdriver. Those are the wrong screwdrivers. Hang on, gotta get the right screwdriver. Yeah, here we go, try again. Yeah, so that screwdriver fits tight. You likely can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm just undoing these, loosening off these screws. I'll show you when it gets out of there. God, how did I get them in there, I wonder? Must have used a different screwdriver. There. It's all a pretty simple device, this thing. It's just, you know, nothing to it really. But I think that everything has to be just sort of right to make it work. Now those things all come out like that, and it's the easiest if you leave the screw in there and just grab it, like grab one of those screws with your pliers, and or two of them, yeah. Just make sure they all come free. Then that whole thing will come out of there like that. Now underneath this plate here, which is, I presume, still good. So there's this little plate here. A little bit of dirt there. Always dirt. That little plate there, which is, you know, what the plunger fits onto, and the plunger fits into this little thing right here. Wait till I push that out. Here's the plunger. It fits right there and pushes on that, and that creates the pressure on that very center pin there. So it's only that center pin there that's must have some dirt on it or needs to be refinished. I don't know, can you see in there? Wait a minute. See that center pin right there? Wait till I get some light in there so you can see. Right in the middle there, the little center pin, and then on the outside there's a O-ring, and the O-ring seals it so that all the action stays within the center there. So I'll pull that O-ring out and I'll see if I can make it so that that center pin, it must be just burred or something, a little bit burred. I'll see if I can clean that up. Don't know how yet. We'll just see. Now, I'll be able to get that little O-ring out of there. O-ring should just pop right out of there. Yeah, there. There's the O-ring that comes out of it. Now let me do a little bit of thinking about how to get that thing cleaned up. Yeah, is this going to work or not? Who knows? The valve grinding compound, I'm going to put it on the end of a drill and use that just to see if I could drill it in there a bit. Now I got to find my drill. Hang on. Yeah, so I dug out an old valve and cut it off because this has got a nice face on it, eh? Now I'll put a bit of grinding compound on here, just a touch. Enough to make it a happy thing. Let's just see what happens here. I'm going to put it in the vise and do that. Just grinding on it there a little bit. I'll come back and show you. Yeah, there now. Do you suppose that's any better in there? Who knows, eh? You might be able to see that better than I can see that. Maybe I'll do a zoom in. Hang on. There. Zoomed in. Let's see if we can see in there. I'll check the video and just see how it looks like. Hang on. Yeah, there, can you see that? That's kind of what it looks like. I think I'll do a little bit more work on it there because it's pretty burry, right? Whether that's the camera or, I think that's, I'll just do a little bit more grinding on it and see how it can come up. Yeah, there's round two. I took this picture with my camera and it looks a little bit smoother now. I'm going to give it a try and see if that's close enough to being good. We'll just see. Here it is in here, right? Now you can't see it very well because it's, you know, the limits of the camera, right? I don't know if that's focused or not in there. Anyhow, that's as good as I can get it with the movie camera. But we'll just carry on. Yeah, meantime, I just took a bit of grinding. Yeah, lose these bits and I'll be happy, won't I? This little bit here goes in here. So I took a little bit of grinding compound and just like with my finger rubbed it to clean the surface of this. That looks pretty good now. And then this thing here, I suppose I could clean it up a bit. I think it's all right. So now, start putting it back together. So I'll put the new metal in there, and I'll put the new O-ring in there. Now this O-ring is smaller than this one. This one here came from the Germany guys, so I think I'll stick with this one, a lot bigger one. It goes. Now I've rinsed this out with brake clean and blown it out with air. So the little O-ring goes right in there like that. It'll stay there. Then this thing here, if you take this, like I've got the new metal bit, which is there. See if I can get into that without wrecking stuff here. Another thing I might do is put two of these metal things in, one on top of the other, but not now, later. I'll just, you know, do some experimenting here first, see what we can get to work. At the worst, I'll order up an electronic one, and that'll solve it all. But this is kind of interesting, eh? Well, I find it interesting. How about you? Do you think so? Now this part here, I'm going to put that side down like that. And get those holes lined up. Then if you put, I wonder where those screws are. These, look, put a couple of these screws in like that. Number one. Hey. Let's get the dirt off them first. We have such a clean environment here, right? One screw. I just want to put two in, one from each side here that kind of holds it together. Two screws. Then, once they're in like that, then if you grab it with your pliers, you can sort of get it into get one of the holes in there. And get it into its spot. Perhaps, if you're lucky, there. I guess I'm lucky. And then I'm going to just roll those two screws in all the way. Make sure the center stays lined up. There it is. There, it's in now. That could have been courting disaster. I don't know, can you see any of this, or am I pointing the wrong way? Ay. There's just these 4 screws in here. Get a bit of light on it too, eh? Hang on. So it's got the O-ring in there. We think that's in the right spot. And then these 4 screws, I've got 2 in, 2 to go. Excuse me. And then I blew it out with, I think I mentioned, I blew it out with brake clean, and then with the air gun, like that. Who knows what will happen this time? It's always an adventure anyhow. Okay, now just tighten them down nice. 1, 2. I wonder what happened to my seal out of there. Seems to have disappeared. Maybe it's in the bottom. Nope. There. They're all tight now. Now this bit here goes back on. Set law, like that. And it's got a spacer and then a lock washer. The spacer makes it sit flat, I think, and the lock washer sits on top of it. And then 10mm nut on here. Then when you put it back together, like you got to make sure that that's gonna be in the center. So usually when you turn it, it's gonna tighten on. There. Pretty close to centered. Can go this way a little bit. Aye, aye, aye. Right about there is center. Then that's back together. Now I need to put this gasket in here. Don't know where the other one went. Fell out somewhere. So we'll put this one in. Gets a new one. Lucky day. Now, I'm going to go without, like I'm going to put this back into a plastic bag here. This one here is pretty new. I've got a bunch of these things now because not the very first time I've been into this, right? Anyway, now this is the original spring, which is a bit bit tougher than the old spring. I'm going to start with taking out my spacer here. The goal is to get it to work right without the spacer, right? Now you put in, oops, jeez. This little bit here, it goes into that plunger in the middle of all that. Then this top hat thing goes on top of it, right like that. Then the spring goes in there. And the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. Then this goes on gently. Make sure it's on the center. Yep. Then just put one of these nuts in here. Whoops. Have I got everything in there? I think so. There we go. Once you get one of these in and, you know, sort of snug, the rest are easy. Anyhow, you've seen me put all this together before, so I won't bore you anymore, right? I won't bore you any less. Is that it? Won't bore you any more, but I won't bore you any less. And another 2 to go, and then I'll go and put it back on the motor. See what happens. Oops, sorry. Yeah, there it is, back on the car. All the lines are hooked up again. Now, I haven't hooked up the electricity. I'm going to start it up, I hope start it up, and then adjust the pressure so it gets up to around about there somewhere. Like we're going to say, what do we got here? 26, right? That the ambient temperature on that is 26 degrees right now. So at 26, this is 246, 26, it should be 1.5 to, can't see that because the other thing's away. Why would that be, right? 26, 246 should be 1.5 to 1 to 1.8, right? 1.5 to 1.9, somewhere in there. So I'm gonna start it up and then see if I can adjust that thing up to to about here somewhere, and then we'll see where the hot one goes to. Yeah, so the fuel pressure is very low right there. Now I'll see if I can get it to come up some. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull up on that a bit. Yeah, so there I turned that enough to bring it around to that temp pressure. Now I'm going to hook the electricity on and let it warm up now and just see if maybe it'll work right, eh? So the ambient temperature was around 26, was around that right size there. That makes it run smooth. Now, we'll see what happens here if it gets up to the right fuel pressure. Maybe we got it this time. Who knows, eh? It's always an adventure. So, 353. Been running a couple of minutes here now, so, and it's been rising pretty quick there. Okay, I'll get back here. Yeah, I'm about 4 minutes in now and it's up to 3.2. So we'll see what happens if it goes up to the proper pressure. That'd be nice if it did. No guarantees on it because there's no shim in there. It's the way it came out of the factory, and it's just a matter of getting that to the right height. Yeah, there it's running for about 15 minutes now, and it's at 3.2, so I can adjust it up a little bit more there. That'll make the lower end come up a little bit too, but I think that's all right. I think we'd be more than close enough with that. I'll wait till tomorrow and check it again, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to be okay. Isn't that something? Now, it has developed a little fuel leak back here that I'll have to look into. That I checked it, I had it up on lifted the hoist, and I saw where the fuel leak is coming from, right at the on the fuel pump. I have to take the fuel pump out and see if I can sort that out. There's a weak link there in that fuel pump. Anyhow, so this thing here, I'll leave it another, a couple of minutes before I do anything else. 409, so that makes it 17 minutes running, just up to 40 degrees on the, 42 degrees on the 38 degrees in there. So it should be pretty near operating temperature. Like if it was on the water jacket, it would be up to 75 degrees by now. 67 below the thermostat. I'll give it another few minutes, see if it comes up anymore. And if it does, then I'll be happy. If not, I'll just adjust it. I can adjust it a tiny bit there, I hope. Might be able to get 2 bar out of it. Yeah, now it's 20 minutes in, basically 20 minutes running. I do believe it's not going to get much warmer in the inside of this thing. 40 degrees it says on there, 41 degrees. So that's likely about as warm as that's going to get. Seems to be idling fairly nicely. I'll see if I can just raise that fuel pressure there a tiny bit by turning this thing. I'll show you. I don't want you to fall into the motor, do I? Where am I here? That's the fuel pressure regulator, or the warm-up regulator. So I got my little Allen key to hold this steady, and then just turn this down a bit. So I pull it upward. Yeah, as much as I can get out of that is 3.2. It'll come up a little bit more, but I don't think that'll change anything. Anyway, I'm going to let it cool off, let it sit and idle for a bit more and see what happens. Yeah, there, I shut it off. It's at 421. Now the residual pressure thing, see if it's any better than it was yesterday. It says 2 now, and it's supposed to be 10 minutes. It's supposed to still be above 1.1. So I'll see what happens. Yeah, so residual pressure after 10 minutes should be 1.3 bar, right? And it's at 1.5 bar. So that's good. That's passed. I think I'm on the right track. So it might need a little bit more grinding on that thing in there, just to get it flat and right. Now that I can likely do better. I've got a mill back there, that one of those mini mills. I can likely set it up to go, you know, make sure it's flat, because just with the hand drill, you don't know what, you know, you don't get it held real flat. So, but I was scared to do that first time around for fear I'd put too much pressure on it. But now that I see that it's actually working, another 10 minutes, it should be still above 1.1. And then that passes the residual pressure test. And if it passes the residual pressure test, then it's never done it before, so the problem was right there in the amount of pressure that plate was putting on the top thing there. Okay, well, wait and see. Yeah, now after 20 minutes, it's still got 0.4 bar. It should be 1.1, but that's the best it's ever done. So I will once again take that one apart once more and go on the mini mill and see if I can somehow make it flat and go from there. That'll be for tomorrow though, because it's like 4:45 now, and enough for today, right? Yeah, so in the meantime, I just went back here and changed some of the fittings on my fuel pump. It was leaking right, I don't know if you can see very well, but right in there, right in there, it was leaking where this fitting fits onto the fuel pump. And it came originally with a type of fitting that I didn't want to use, but I put that back on and then put that hose on there. So we'll just see how it works out. Then I changed these clamps back here to better type clamps. So this is like, I don't have an internal tank, whatever you call it, pump. It originally came with an internal tank pump. So I put on this pump here, which is a low pressure pump, as a lift pump, just to get fuel to this high pressure pump, which goes to the motor. Now, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's what I did. So there you go. Anyhow, that's all together. And then this fuel filter here, I've put on just between the tank and the pumps, because I had cleaned out the tank and there's still some residual stuff that is hanging around. I'm cleaning out with a couple of, hopefully it'll eventually get a clean fuel filter there. Then I'll put one of those metal ones on there that's a little bit more armored for anybody. Like I've had a few comments on it about a little bit precariously placed, and that's true, but I want to be able to see it for now. And when such time comes that I feel it's confident, I'll put a metal one up higher out of the way. Yeah, there we go. That's enough for today on this thing here. The tomorrow I'll come and I'll take that off once again and do it on my mini mill and see if I can just grind it a little bit more and flatten that fitting out, and then maybe it'll work, because it's pretty close to being right. A little bit more work on it might have it fixed, or might have it completely ruined. We'll wait and see what happens, right? Yeah, hello, good morning, and well, afternoon, or well, that's still morning. Anyway, back on to the 924 Porsche and this epic journey with the warm-up regulator. Now last night I left it was pretty close to right yesterday, So I'm going to start it up. It's dead cold now, like the sitting all night. I'm going to start it up and see what this comes out to again this morning. So maybe you could watch that for me again. Yeah, there it is. I'll see if I can start it up. See what happens. That's a bit high, right? Should be quite a bit lower than that. It should be down here. So something's still not right. So I'm just going to shut it off and we'll I wonder what's going on now. What's that telling me now? I've got that pulled up too high. So was that, 3.2, and I kept pulling it up, but it just wasn't making any difference. So I think I'll just shut it off, and I'll just, yeah, so here I am. Hang on a minute here. Yeah, so now I've got that a bit set too high. Now yesterday when I was running it, I pulled this up pretty near to the limit, but it wasn't making any difference on the fuel pressure. So it's obviously made a difference on the low end fuel pressure because it should be down a bunch. So what I'll do now, I wonder if I should just set it so that the low pressure is right. No, I'll take that off and I'll clean it up like I was planning to. I'll take that regulator off. And I'll clean it up like I was planning to over on the mill. Okay, that's what I'll do. Yeah, so that's a valve stem that I had. Used to be attached to the rest of the valve somewhere. I don't know where. There it is, right there on the bench here, right? That. Out of the Volkswagen van. Now I refaced this on the lathe, so that's pretty flat. Now I'm going to put it in the machine, in the milling machine, and then see if I can mill that down flat, because I think I had it pretty close, but not completely, 100%. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so I've got it set up in the mill, and it's not touching anything right now. But this, I just lower it down. I put some grinding compound on the end of my tool, and I lower it down a little bit till I hear it touching, and you can hear it grind there. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's grinding on there. Let it up so that it resets itself. New compound. Put it back on. Just light pressure and slow turn. I'll do this about 3 or 4 times and then see how it looks. Yeah, there it is after the event, and this is what it looks like on the camera here that I can get a closer shot. Looks like this little edge here might be just a little bit low there. Should I do it a little bit more? I don't know, I don't want to go too much. Maybe I'll see how it works out. I'll put it on and see how it happens. Yeah, there now, it's all back together. I haven't hooked the electricity onto that yet. I'm going to see if I can adjust. I'll adjust the cold value to close to what it should be. Hang on till I check that number. Numbers, hey? So that's about 18 degrees, that thing. So let me check my chart and I'll figure it out. Yeah, so at 18 degrees, which is that line there, should be between 1.3 and 1.6. So we'll see what it comes up to there, and then make that right, let it warm up and see what the top comes to, because it should be 3.4 to 3.8 at the top, right? Now, if you'd kindly watch that again, we'll just see what it comes to. That's pretty close to the right number. And it starts right up when it's close to the right number. Yeah, it's 1.2, so I'll just turn it up a tiny bit. There, that's 1.4 there now, so that's between 1.3 and 1.6. Now, find the electricity. And now I've plugged in the electricity, and we'll just wait and see what happens here. It's, you know, watching paint dry again. Yeah, we're about 3 minutes in, and it's up to 3 or 4 minutes in, it's up to just about 3. So it's just got to get up to here and I'll be a happy guy. We'll just see what happens. Yeah, and there's no fuel leak, so that's a good sign. Yeah, the motor's warmed up now. I don't think it'll get any different. So it's at just at 3.2, maybe a little bit above it. And the control pressure is at 5, just steady there. So that's as good as it's going to get, unless I put a shim in underneath there. So should I do that? I'll think about it a bit. Yeah, so I shut it off and started it again, and it just started right up. So that's hot start is good, cold start is good, or was. We'll see if it still is after a while here. I might let it get down to cold again, maybe adjust it to the high end on the cold, and let it be there. Anyway, that's not too bad for a 40-year-old car, right? We'll see how it does on the leak down test. I've got it. Let me see here what's going on. 9.5 minutes left. See what happens, see if it gets down and holds its pressure for the 10-minute test anyhow. Yeah, it's resoundingly failed the leak down test. That's after 6 minutes there. So, anyway, I'll think about that. I'm not really sure on what's causing that, whether it's leaking back through this thing or not. We don't know. Anyway, I'm not too awful worried about that leak down test because it seems to start up all right and run okay. So it's something somewhere is out of whack. Yeah, there, I think I'll close this video off here. I didn't intend to be, you know, so much involved in that WUR Warm Up Regulator and fuel pressure testing and all that kind of stuff. So, but it got kind of involved, didn't it? So now I've got some other things to do that I'll make another video on, and I'll give you an update on this later down the road if I decide to put a shim in there. And if I decide to put a shim in there, I might get some news out of me yet. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope it's helpful. I hope you enjoyed it anyhow. It kind of a epic journey to the WUR, right? Warm up regulators on K-Jetronics fuel systems. They're a real challenge is what they are. Okay, see ya. Yeah, here it is, March 11th, and the wind's been blowing up from the south regularly. What, you got some, oh, the doggy's got some yuck there. That would be a spine from a muskrat, likely. Good eating, eh? Anyhow, it looks like all the ice is packed into the cove. Wind must have blown it in last night. There was a big windstorm. 80 or 90, 100-kilometer-hour winds came across, blew all this ice up. But it was wind and rain, or freezing rain, or anyhow, but no snow. Oh, pretty high tide now, and tides come past the ice berm. Cool. Ice, ice, ice. Won't last long now. There you go.